It's that time again for another 40k Fanatics podcast. Shane and Austin joining you once more. We got a big day of work today.
Oh, do we?
We do. You brought up an idea, and we're going to have to come up with a name for it. But we're going to have a movie thing.
Movie time.
Movie time. I don't know what we're going to call it. I had a thought late last night, and then I forgot as I woke up. But that's gonna be just bonus content. You guys are just gonna get that, and if you don't like it, we don't care. We want to talk about movies, but if you do like it, then it will be highly irregular, and so you'll probably be mad that we don't put it out weekly. But that would be a lot of work, and we're very lazy. However, you can complain to us over on our Discord that we've opened up. The link is down below in the description of literally everything we put this out on. And we got a new member today.
We do.
So we've got a few people. The homie Dave and company, often featured in the Reading O comments, is in there. And you guys can all just do show amongst yourselves and with us because we're quite active so far.
Yeah, just anything you want to talk about. 40K. Age of Sigmar, Old World, Horse Heresy. We got everything going on there. We got non-GW rooms as well.
Share your own bits box.
Yeah.
I like seeing that. We're going to open up the Vox channel. First and foremost, the Vox channel is a part of the show where we read your comments. This comment comes from our Warhammer 40k Terrain Sucks pod, which blew up.
Did it ever?
A whole lot of people wanted to see. And you know what? A lot of times when we say something sucks, like when I get on my soapbox about competitive play sucks, people get mad, but it seemed like everybody was with us on this.
Oh yeah, it had like 27 upvotes on it.
I mean, it just didn't make it doesn't make sense. The GW has no answer for this particular problem when it's a problem of their own creation. But Mad Larkin 8 says Warhammer, and this is a wild take. Warhammer boards are far too small in general. I play on a 6x8 foot board with more spread out diverse terrain and an extra 6th turn to give more time to maneuver. So that guy, he can't get enough 40k.
I don't think there's enough space at the game store to have that large of tables.
Yeah, I'm not sure, but I like what he's doing.
Yeah.
Here's another one on that same thing. This is Zyoloni 9366.
Careful, you might summon something.
I tell you what, I have a solution for all your wargaming problems. He goes all caps. Don't play matched games. Warhammer is narrative hobby, and battles are recreation of cool stories you read and headcanon you made. Boom, problem solved. If you play match play games, you doing it wrong.
Boom, problem solved.
Problem solved. He's right. He's right. Now I've got one more quite lengthy comment, but it and a few others that I read on the terrain pod, because it got quite a bit of engagement, and we really appreciate you guys sharing your thoughts with us. But this comment I'll read right before we get into the main topic, because it is what sort of precipitated this topic that we will do today, which is about like the social contract, social friction involved in setting up your games.
Yeah,
I think we've got an interesting discussion to have there. But before we do that, that's it for the Vox channel. Get at us on X at 40k Fanatics Podcast over there, or down in the YouTube comments, or even on Spotify. There are comments there too, and you should check that out. But it's now time to open up the Bits Box.
Opening it.
Austin, what have you been doing in the miniature hobby this week?
Well, I've been trying to take stock of my dwarves now that it looks like the high elves are upon us. Trying to make sure I've got everything ready to go to get ready for some games with you with that. Yeah,
I'm excited. I got everything but like the what are they? The Lions of Grace or whatever?
Yeah, the Chase. I think Trace Lions, whatever.
Yeah, the lion. Basically, they're Viking type dudes. I don't have any interest in them, so I got everything else that's coming out. I got the dragon.
Yeah,
I got the dragon guy coming. I went ahead and got the bolt thrower thing because
the eagle bolt thrower.
Yeah, I didn't want to feel left out with no artillery piece in a game that has an artillery die.
Well, here's the thing. The artillery don't use. The bolt throwers don't use artillery dice.
Well, that's disappointing to learn, but that's okay because I still want to have some. I still want to have some installations.
Yeah,
but it's going to be great. I'm going to get an eagle. I think the eagle may be metal.
I believe so.
Yeah, if I'm losing too bad, I'll just knock you in the head with it. And
shattered swings.
I don't know. I don't know if that would. I'm excited. I haven't even begun to make a list. You sent me a link. I haven't even looked at it. I'm just excited to get stuff. Which part of that is because I don't know what I'm actually getting. The battalion box has some number of something and a couple of chariots. That's what I know. That's the amount of attention I pay. I've got to come up with a way to base them. I want to base them kind of classy, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not sure what to do there. So the plan is to go to the friendly local game store and do some and get some basing bits and some various things that I can super glue to the bottoms. I'm gonna do a lot of airbrushing.
Okay. Yeah, I think you're talking about doing like granite rubble on them.
I was thinking about that, and then I've kind of kicked it around here and there, and I'm like, well, what if it's grass? And I did a grass and sand thing on the few bolt action minis that I've finished, and it looks really cool. So I could do something like that, but I don't know. I'm going to go and see what they've got. I could see me getting like the little, chunks of cork and stuff and having that so they look like they're walking through some cragginess, maybe.
Maybe. I'm not a big fan of people who base like individual miniatures on like a cork stand. And that always gets on my nerves, to be honest.
I've recently done a cork stand, so I'm with you. A lot of times it's just like, oh, there's a piece of cork. I don't care for that. However, I just finished this week the Warpsmith for my Chaos Space Marines, and I did him on a big old chunk of cork because he looks kind of ridiculous. He's like mid-stride, and he's got this cape of cables hanging off the back of him. He's the tech priest engine seer type dude of Chaos Space Marines.
He's your repairman.
He's a repairman. He's a mechanic. He's also got Dr. Octopus tendrils. But I was like, man, this guy, and the deal is what messes him up is he's on an oval. Okay. Yeah. And I don't know why. It looks terrible.
Because he's long.
Yeah, he's long. And so they put him on an oval instead of a bigger round base. I would have rather been on a big round base, like a 60.
Yeah.
Rather than the oval, so that you just had some room to do something. So what I did is I took a piece of cork and cut a little piece out so that I could put a flower like down underneath, sort of on the bottom, and then it's cork thick. But I covered the whole thing in the same desert texture paste that I do all the rest of my bases. So it looks good, and it doesn't scream piece of cork, which I think is good.
Yeah, I think my problem with it is when you have like a whole army of individual guys on corks, and it's like an army of guys standing on stones. It doesn't work well to me. I think main characters on cork, that works, but when you got like everyone standing on stones with like lava around it, it's like, are they playing Floors Lava? What's going on here?
Yeah, the cork is weird, right? Because you break it off and you chop it up all around the edges, and I guess the theory is that it looks like, it's almost like a cutout of the ground around them.
Yeah.
But then it's a belabored metaphor in that way, then, isn't it? Because it's like, well, if it's a cutout of the ground around them, then why doesn't it isn't the base its own cutout? Why do we have this crag on top of this perfect circle? And what do we need? Like, to scale 1.5 feet below the surface of the ground for?
Yeah.
I don't know. What else have I done? I finished my Chaos Lord with Jump Pack. He looks cool. The two of them, I did some stuff with metals that were the last bit of practice, especially with the High Elves coming soon. I had to pull the trigger on Vashtor the Archifane.
Oh, yeah.
And so the last 10 models that I've done have been in preparation, practicing various skills to do him. All his skin is done, besides his face. Some of his metal I've begun on. And, one session in Vashtor, he is big. And, I'm always careful when doing a big model to quit when I'm out of energy on the session, you know? Because it just, no matter what you do, no matter how big the brush you use, it just takes a long time to just get paint on surfaces.
Oh, yeah.
And he had sort of a 5-step skin recipe.
Yeah, no, I saw that one of the early steps. It looked like he was like bronze. Like we got a Palm Beach Vastor over here.
Yeah, so what had happened is I had done all the various dry brushing and stuff, and you know, started primed in black, airbrushed in purple, hit him with 3 layers of dry brushing to get from purple to flesh tones, and then I decided that he looked a little bit washed out.
Yeah.
Which you can get with a lot of dry brushing. And so I thinned some brown ink way, way, way down and then tinted him. And I got a little overboard with the tinting. And he looked like he'd spent too much time in the tanning bed. And so then I just took my highest skin tone that I dry brushed and brushed on a couple of thin layers and brought him back to where we need him. So,
yeah, I mean, he looks good.
Yeah, I think he's going to look great once all his, you know, he's got as much chaos metal trim all around him as anything else too. So that'll be a lot to do, but I think it'll bring the whole thing together.
Oh yeah.
I notice as I'm getting better at painting, I'm doing a lot of what you see on Instagram, where you'll see somebody that has just gone to completion on, say, a guy's arm, and then the rest of the thing is just black primer. And I used to think, like, that's crazy. How do you end up with that? And the way you end up with that is your brush control is just real good, and you don't get anywhere you don't want it.
Of course, yeah.
Which, you know, good if you can do it, right?
Yeah.
But that's what I've been doing. Somehow I asked you, and we talked about me.
Sometimes it works out that way.
It often works out that way, let's be honest. But what have you done? You've been taking inventory of the dwarves, getting them ready to fight the elves in an age-old conflict.
Age-old War of the Beard. Trying to look over at, like I mentioned before, doing the runesmith, working on an engineer now. Let's see. Need to build one more gyrocopter to kit out my force, and then I still need to attach some shields to some of my thunderers before I can really get them sprayed and primed to get them painted. And then I think I need to attach the axes to them. But I've got 2,000 points ready to go once everything gets done.
Nice. Painted?
I think the closest to getting fully painted is the runesmith. I need to do some layering on him.
Nice. Have you gone back to the giant?
Not yet. He's kind of a off and on again project. Still, I don't know. I'm still not sure what to really do about him.
Well, I'm planning to do a thing that I've never done before with my high elves, which is to do them as an army painting project, to come up with methods and to execute doing them, say 10 guys at a time.
Yeah.
Like in a session, sit down, bang out 10 dudes don't anybody clip that. You guys don't do that. But I'll say it again. I'm going to bang out 10 dudes at a time. And it'll be great. I think what I'm going to do, because I've talked about how they're going to be blue and yellow.
Yeah.
And blue, super easy. Barely an inconvenience. Yellow, less so. I'm thinking liquid mask.
Okay.
Liquid mask, airbrush, yellow. It'll be brilliant.
Interesting.
I've never used liquid mask, but I've seen people use it, and it looks like it's something that I could get my head around. I think it could be cool, especially if it's going to be like, say, just, splashes of yellow here and there.
Yeah.
So we'll see. We'll see what happens. Because then I'll just have to go through and highlight some blue if I feel like it, which I'll probably bake that into whatever the recipe is of the airbrushing steps. And then it's just paint faces. Paint faces, paint hands, paint weapons. And I got all sorts of ways to paint weapons these days.
Oh yeah.
I've got a cobalt blue in my Army Painter Fanatics Metallics range that is awesome. It's like super shiny, and it's ever so slightly blue. It's like almost like a blued pistol.
Oh wow.
And then what I find is you can take the brightest, I think they call it shining silver. You hit the edge of the blade with that. Oh
Yeah.
money.
That's the way to do
It's
it.
money.
Mm-hmm.
Let's close the bits box.
Closing it.
We're going to get into our main topic today, and I'm going to read you guys this lengthy comment from Jason Trump 9595. He says, here's the thing. You were talking about a hobby and game played at many different levels. Clearly, the game level that you enjoy playing at isn't competitive. I've heard you say several times that you enjoy golf. Now the rules are the same, but sometimes in a relaxing game of golf, maybe you're using the closest tees and your ball is on an old tree root, so giving it a little bump or a 2-foot putt just get to count. You have a social agreement with the group or player that this is how it is going this round today. Not a lot of punctuation on Jason Trump's thing here.
Don't always need it.
You don't always need it, but sometimes it helps. The same is true with 40K and terrain. Sometimes you go competitive in the paintball course. It is, and all the nitpicking rules of in the ruined footprint or not. Sometimes you build a thematic battleground, but that is where the social contract with your opponent comes into play. Are we here to have fun, roll dice, or are we here to see who can get the most VP? Before each game, even during our meeting up chat to sort out details, I'm sorting out the social contract. Yes, the GW paintball layouts make it easier to make a more balanced to an army type. It also makes it feel a lot more cold of a game. To cap it, you just sounded like the person crying about the narrow fairway and the sucky greens when playing at the club. I'm talking about golf again. You can pick other options. Now, he's 100% right.
Is he?
He is. I saw other people talking about things, and some of them mentioned the phrase social friction and how the GW like match play terrain lowers that, where if you just walk up and you've never seen these people you're going to play with, it lowers the social friction. So I've got 4 points here in my notes, as you know, the most minimal amount of show prep that anyone ever does is 4 solitary lines of notes is how we do these things. And I'm going to start off with a question for you, Austin.
Yes.
Are you high right now?
Oh, I am.
Do you ever get nervous? Are you single?
Oh, no, I'm not.
Do you ever get nervous?
Yeah.
You do?
Yeah.
Around people?
Sometimes.
Around, like, the game store. You walk into a game store you've never been in, you're going to try to mix it up with the folks.
So, like, if I'm going to visiting some town and I walk in, I feel like they're more nervous of me.
Really?
Yeah, it's kind of like, well, who's this guy coming onto our space? Who? They all turn around from their little chairs with their cards in their. It's like walking into a saloon in a western, but they're playing Magic.
It is a bit that way,
and they're like,
instead of holding aces and eights, they've got the Magic equivalent of whatever that would be.
Yeah, they got like Magic Pot and whatever else. I don't know the cards, but
I don't know any of them.
Yeah, they all turn around. It's like, who's this yellow belly coming in here? And then I walk over to look at their 40k stuff, and it's all just like the basic Space Marine starter sets. I'm like, no one plays 40k here. I just kind of leave. They're like, well, we can order you something. I'm like, I'm never coming back here. Why would I order anything? Yeah.
Well, what if you were going to play a game like that? What if there were people playing 40k, and you're like, okay, I want to schedule a game myself. Let me get on the rotation here. I'm going to come through tomorrow. Who wants to get up here tomorrow? Are you the sort that would initiate that sort of thing?
I mean, possibly. I mean, I've never done any. I've never had to do anything like that because I've only had one game store.
Well, sure.
Or 2 game stores.
The reason I ask you is because you're a bit more of you're a better example of a normal person than I am. Okay.
Okay, I'm glad to hear that.
Yeah, I for the people that don't know, for my job, big air quotes, I play piano and tell jokes and do that sort of thing. I tour around with a guy that, we were just this weekend doing shows. I think the place held 1,500. Pretty big rooms. I've never felt anything. I'm impervious to it. So when people talk about social friction and things like that, and the sort of anxieties that people have when they're trying to book a game, that feels super alien to me, but I understand that it is a very common thing. Now, I think where we can help the people and the community at large is that my little superpower of being the kind of a-hole that just doesn't feel these things might be synthesized through your relative normalcy.
Okay.
And then through our talent with words and stuff, we might help people sort some of this out. So, the idea of the social friction, I've got what is it? And what it is the potentially uncomfortable discussion that you might have with strangers about how are we going to do this thing, right?
Yeah.
Like if you were going to, I don't know, set up a threesome. Okay. Right? So, okay, it's me and my girl, and we're going to bring Austin in. But then, Austin, what would some of your concerns would be what?
One of my concerns is, are we talking about this on the podcast?
Yeah.
Okay.
This is a hypothetical. See, the social friction is real here.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it was me and her, and we want to bring you in. And then, obviously, the first thing you're thinking is like, well, Austin and her is fine, but Austin and Shane is less fine. And so you got to clarify that.
Yeah.
And that's exactly the same thing as, are we playing busted cheese lists or rule of cool?
Okay.
It's exactly the same, right?
Yeah.
I'm trying to make this fun.
I'm trying to worry about our, audience.
The audience knows. They've tried to set up games. It's very complicated. Now, the way that this whole thing came from the terrain discussion and how we've got the standardized terrain, and then there was another part of that. Go listen to it. Where, why is it you can't easily buy the standardized terrain? That part's frustrating. The good part of the standardized terrain is that everybody knows what they're getting.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So we're gonna play the standard terrain layout with the particular terrain with the little things underneath, and that means whatever list I bring within reason will be as balanced as it can possibly be. So I'll bring my cheese.
Yep.
Well, almost, because you bring your cheese and I bring the first 1,500 points that I thought was cool, and we're not going to have a very good time.
No, unless I want to crush you with cheese, just because I get personal pleasure from crushing random people with my cheese.
My very next thing is, what do we want?
I wish to crush people with my cheese.
Yeah, well, see, then you're just not a person that I need to play with very often.
I have nothing going in my life besides crushing people with cheese, so that is what I must do. I must crush people with my cheese to find any enjoyment in my sad life.
Right. So that is absolutely a person that exists too. And what you need to do, what we want to do, is both have a good time. We want to go back to Jason Trump's comment. We want to play a golf course that is to a standard that we wish, a level of difficulty that we can get around, right?
Yeah.
The idea should be, I think, and I feel like everybody can agree, the idea should be to have a game that is competitive in the sense that it's a game.
Yeah.
But by the end of it, we should both feel like we got to do something.
Mm-hmm. You're here to have a good night.
That's right. So if it's like, I like to bring cheese.
Yeah.
And you say, good, I like to bring cheese. Say less. Everybody knock themselves out.
Cheese fest.
Yeah, because you both know that you're going to have gotchas. You're going to have whole units just getting decimated instantly. it's going to be one of those. You might only play two turns, and the thing will be over. You'll be able to fast forward from that point, because that is the nature of cheese. If one guy says, "I want to bring my tournament list," and the other guy says, "I just got a cool something," well, one of you needs to decide something different. All right? Now, my last point that we'll get into, and I think this is really where we get into the nitty-gritty, is people have got varying levels of confidence in initiating, in forging, in negotiating these social contracts.
Mm-hmm.
And I believe that you can whittle this down, this level of confidence, into leaders and followers.
Okay.
I am really, really good at being leader.
Uh-huh.
I'm going to tell you exactly what I intend to bring, what sort of game I want to play, how I want to, I want to play this thing out of the Crusade book with da-da-da. And then you could say yes or no. And if you say no, I'm fine with that, because I'm a strange person.
Mm-hmm.
That's not how everybody does it. However, leaders and followers. I also am willing to be a follower if I find another leader, because there are less leaders than there are followers. Not everybody wants to initiate a conversation with strangers and possibly rock the boat of whatever it is that they do in the hobby at a given place.
Mm-hmm.
But you can.
Yeah.
Because in all likelihood, the majority of everybody else that plays around there is a follower, or they're not in the mode to be as leader as you are on the day, especially if you've never played a game in one of these places.
Yeah.
Which, this is another thing. I see a lot of comments about how, well, we've got the match play and we've got we've got the match play terrain and all this, and that's so that pickup games are easier. I have never had a pickup game that was sight unseen, not discussed, random person. Maybe the first game I ever played was that way.
Yeah.
But after that, it takes you 3 hours to play. Your first game, it probably takes you 4.5 hours to play.
Mm-hmm.
Like, that guy by the end of it.
Yeah.
Other people have come by and you've met them.
Mm-hmm.
After the initial first game, you can, they invite you to a Discord. There's a Facebook group, whatever. And then you can sort this out to get whatever kind of game that you want. That makes you the leader. You're looking for a follower.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it's important to strive to do that.
Yeah.
If you can't do that, the other thing that I encourage people to do is to want to be a follower, where anybody that comes up with an idea that's a little out of the norm, say, yeah, I'll play that game.
Yeah, just try it.
Just try it. What's the worst that could happen?
Might have fun.
You might have fun. Do you see any negatives to this theory?
No, not really. I feel like a lot of the discussions of leaders and followers also kind of coincides with if you're new and trying to set up a scene at a store, like if you've got a game that you really enjoy but no one else really plays, it's important to be the leader in that. And if you're trying to grow that scene, be the leader. And once a scene gets developed, don't immediately become a follower. Else you have just a sea of followers who are looking for a leader, but there's not one to do anything about it.
Yeah, and I think that's an interesting point too, because 40k is so large that it sort of leads itself.
Yeah,
like we mentioned the Magic cards. Magic leads itself.
Yeah,
it's just what it is, and everybody can come and play, and you know exactly what you're getting. Which, it's a card game.
Mm-hmm.
You can have that with a card game.
Yeah.
All its rules are 100% codified and standardized by necessity and design.
Mm-hmm.
40k and the miniature wargaming hobby is not that way.
No.
It requires some massaging to be its best, because I don't think there's any serious argument that could be made that 10th edition 40k is not the most balanced and best that it's ever been.
Oh, it's the most streamlined. It's the most gamified of 40k.
It's the easiest it's ever been to play.
Yeah.
It requires very little reference. Everything just kind of works. Like, and yet you could still have wildly different experiences and expectations depending on this, that, and the third.
Yeah.
And I think there is a level of fear that people have amongst strangers that, like, I want to say just stop it, right? Because I'm that sort of person. Then like I feel funny at parties. I'm like, stop it, right? I understand it's not that simple. However, I think that the vast majority of everybody that plays this thing wants to have a different experience than the one they have on the mean old internet.
Yeah.
Because I wonder, and I would like to see a study about it. I mean, I know that there are social media studies that have been done that say that it's killing everybody's happiness. I wonder how much of people's anxieties that they take into booking a game of 40K with relative strangers, associates, acquaintances, is not bred out of, anonymous randoms on Reddit who are like, well, you can't play insert unit or model because they're trash. And
totally.
And you're sitting there in the middle of painting that thing thinking, oh, but I like it.
Sorry, can't take it. Sorry to have my phone silenced.
Look at you. That's got to be some kind of fine. Austin just got fined $75.
Oh, yeah. FCC licensing lost.
Yeah, what do you think of that? Like, the internet is a silly place.
Yeah.
How much do you think that is what bleeds into people feeling like, ooh, I don't want to suggest a game, and then everybody be like, nerd, nobody plays that way.
Possibly. There might be some people that are afraid of what people might think of if they bring their little custom Space Marine chapter with all their little guys and nameplates on them. Some people are like perfectly happy with that, and they're like very enthusiastic about it. I mean, there might be some people like that in their own like little curated, manicured list of fun. But I think one big thing you're getting at about the internet is I feel like in our modern society, there's been such a breakdown of third places where people learn social skills and are able to go out and meet people and have social interactions on the daily with just random people. And because of a loss of that, I feel like our society has become neurotic and highly socially anxious because we don't know how to talk to people, and our society's become a lot more unsafe. So I feel like a lot of people are like, is this person a threat to me? If I look at them, I don't know what they can't form a what's it called? They don't have a theory of mind of other people. A lot of younger people don't, because they're just so socially stunted. They can't like comprehend what other people are thinking, so they internally perceive them as a threat. But yeah, I feel like the internet, as much as it has brought us together, it has separated us just as much.
Well, yeah, because it seems that like even our local local 40K Facebook group, it's got a whole lot of folks talking at various times as if they're never going to see each other.
Yeah, that's another thing. It's very
which is wild to me.
It's very much on the internet. A lot of the time, you're behind a mask of either an account, a username, sometimes even anonymous on some websites. And I feel like because a lot of people spend so much time on the internet, even though they've got their name attached to their Facebook and everything, sort of that mentality bleeds into it. It's very much there's two worlds. You have the internet world and you have the real world. And a lot of people treat them as separate, even though they very much can bleed into each other when it comes to social interactions.
Even though, in the case of like your local 40K group, it's, why are you guys using internet persona when I'm going to see you this weekend?
Yeah.
Like they're the same real people, and that should mesh, and yet for many it doesn't, and that is crazy to me. which, nobody gets too wild. We're talking, ultimately we're talking about like miniature war games. Nobody's going to fight. But man, could you imagine if that was pickup basketball group chat?
Oh yeah.
And somebody was talking about hard fouls?
Yeah.
No, it'd be bad news on Tuesday when we all meet up to play.
Yeah.
Somebody'd have to catch hands the next time there was a hard foul if they had been so laissez-faire about somebody talking about it on the internet.
Yeah.
Now, I think this part cannot be stressed enough. If you're listening to this and you're thinking, "Oh, it's possible that my 40k internet discourse, whether you're well-meaning or not, you just see this negativity, you see this sort of like that guy run amok. That is not real. When you go to the place and talk to the actual humans,
yeah,
even if you're talking to them on something like the local community Discord and you're trying to book a game, you could talk to them like people.
Really?
I promise. Because you're going to see them. Or you're talking to them in person anyway. So it is highly unlikely that these people are going to give you the sort of stick that you get from a random person on Reddit. Therefore, pitch your idea for the kind of game that you want to play.
Yeah.
Because if you're having fun, then they can have fun. Here's what you don't ever want. One person not having fun to the point that the other person can't have fun. That's a mess. But anyway, Austin has got up. He knocked over his drink a couple of times, but everybody's okay. I just think that the key here is to take the leap and let people know what it is that you would like to do. And if they say, I don't want to do that, that's fine. It's not the end of the world if the first person you ask is some sort of jerk. I know this has been a bit of a short one, but I want to invite people to get on the Discord and let us know what you think. How do you like to book a game? That's what I want to know. Down in the comments over on X at 40k Fanatics Podcast. Let me know, because I don't ever have any difficulty booking a game, and I'll book it. I'll play whatever kind of game with people that I want, because it's like the old closed mouths don't get fed thing. You'll be shocked how many people don't really mind what it is. They're just happy to play with their toys, which is ultimately the thing that on this podcast and in general we are trying to do. Play with our plastic toy soldiers. It shouldn't be this hard. If you love to play match play on paintball courses, there's somebody out there for you. If you like to bust out the old dusty ruins in the back closet of the game store, somebody is going to think those are cool. You just have to ask, lead, and find them. And I believe, because I've done it, you'll find a whole lot more people receptive to changing it up than you expect. A whole lot of people are getting a lot of reps in Match Play 40K all the time, over and over and over. And I know it gets old. Every so often I'll go play an RTT, and it's paintball courses, and it's super stringent, and you play 3 games in a day, and it's all I want of that for a while. And then it's back to different stuff. But I've been Shane and Austin.
Here I am.
There he is. For 40K Fanatics Podcast, don't forget to
stay fanatical.